Good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 9 of our course. You might remember my name is Liz. I'm a student in Australia who is learning to teach TESOL, which is Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages, which is what I'm doing here with you. So thanks again for giving me the opportunity, and thank you to Mona Lisa for supporting me. This week our topic is on personal computing. Today we'll be having a quick review of what we've done previously and having a look at our reading and talking about personal computing. So last week we didn't actually have any topics because last week was the midterm exams. I hope you all did really well and that everyone's feeling a little bit more relaxed now that exams are over and ready to do some more learning. So our warm-up questions today for personal computing. How are computers or devices used in your home or outside of work? So when we say devices, I mean you might have a smartphone, an iPad, a tablet, or a computer. You may have a laptop or a desktop. How are you using those in your personal life at home and outside of your work? So you might think about how you're using it for your study. And our second question is, if you already own a personal computer, PC, what do you use it for? So I have a laptop that I take with me from school to school because my job is to go to schools and work with teachers. And I'm using my computer right now to record this video for you so that we can do this teaching. So that's how I'm using my personal computer. I also use my iPad to help me out with different things getting ready for this. So have a think about that. And could you please pop your answers down in the comments underneath the YouTube video, and I will make sure that I have a look at them before our practicum lesson on Thursday. And now our warm-up activity, because we've thought about computers and devices. Now I want you to have a think about how has personal computing affected your life? And part of that, have a think about what has personal computing made possible for you? So I put an example there of asynchronous learning. So something that personal computing has made possible for me is for me to be teaching you as TESOL learners right now while I'm doing my study over here in Australia. So I think we have COVID-19 to thank for that because it forced us to use our computers in many, many different ways. And now we have Zoom and we do asynchronous and synchronous learning, and asynchronous learning can be done just like this is. I also use my computer a lot for Zoom, which is what we'll be using as our platform on Thursday when we do our synchronous learning. So have a think about that. How has personal computing affected your life? And what has it made possible for you? Have they been good things that have been made possible for you? Do you like using your personal computer? Do you think it makes your life easier or more difficult? Could you pop your answers to that down in the comments underneath the YouTube video, please? This week for our reading, we are looking at the development of personal computers. It's in your textbook. If you have a look, it is reading number 6, personal computing. So could you please make sure you read that before Thursday, and there are some activities to complete as well. When you read your reading, after the first reading, could you please record yourself reading your reading and then have a listen to see how you sound? If there are any words that you find tricky or you're not sure how to say them, write them down and we will work on pronunciation during our practicum on Thursday. So if you have a hard copy of your textbook, you might highlight the words that you think are a little bit tricky, and we will have a look at those on Thursday and work them out together, because pronunciation in English is very important because we need everybody to understand what we're saying. So please have a read of that reading and then listen to your own recording of yourself reading. Okay. After you're familiar with the reading, we have 8 questions here that I would like you to answer. The answers to these questions are in the reading. A lot of them are right there in the reading in front of you. Some of the answers you have to think a little bit outside of the reading to be able to answer them. I've seen some of your previous work, and just like you do for Mona Lisa, I would like you to answer the questions in whole sentences for me. So for example, question 1 says, how was the original IBM PC developed? Your answer would need to say, the original IBM PC was developed, and then write your answer after that. So it's whole sentences for all 8 of the questions. So have a look through those questions. You have from now, Monday, until Thursday to get those answered. If there's anything there that you are finding very difficult, please send me an email and I will try to help you that way, or you might write your question in the comments underneath the YouTube video. That would be okay as well. But those 8 questions, if you type your answers up and have them ready to share with us on Thursday, we will go through them together. Now, something else we're going to do with this reading as well is have a look at synonyms. Now, synonyms are words or phrases that have a similar meaning. They might not mean exactly the same, but they are almost the same meaning. So there are 8 different examples there, and we've made it a little bit easier for you in that you only need to look at certain numbers of lines. So when you look at your reading, the line numbers are down the side. So for our first example, the most successful, you need to go to lines 45 to 50, read those 5 lines of the text and find the word or the phrase that means the same thing as the most successful. And then when you have done that, you need to write that answer down next to it, and that will be the synonym. So it can be a phrase, 2 or 3 words, or it might just be 1 word. And make sure you're checking in the section where the lines are numbered there. Okay, now we're going to move on to our grammar focus for this week. This week we are having a look at past tense. If something's written in the past tense, it means that it has already happened. So when you read something in the newspaper or perhaps on Twitter or online, in a magazine, all of those things will be written in past tense because they're things that have already happened. They're not happening right now and they're not going to happen. They have already happened. So that's why they're called past tense. We're going to be looking at 2 different types of voice in simple past tense. So we'll have a look at the active voice in a sentence and passive voice in a sentence, but always in that simple past tense. So we're writing about or reading about things that have already happened. So active voice is when the subject is the main part of the sentence. So if you have a look there, that is basically the formula for writing in active voice. We put down the subject, then the past tense form of the verb, and then the object. So those 3 different things need to go into the sentence for it to be active voice. Passive voice is where the subject isn't the important part of the sentence anymore and we're focusing on the object. So if you have a look at our formula, you can see the object is the first thing in the sentence. Then we need the word was, then the past participle form of the verb, and then the word by, and then the subject. So the subject in the active voice is at the beginning of the sentence, and in the passive voice, the subject is at the end of the sentence. So what we will do is have a look at a couple of examples to see if we make that nice and clear. So here is a sentence in simple past tense in active voice. So there's our formula, the subject, plus the past tense form of the verb, plus the object. So here is our sentence. Bill Gates founded Microsoft. The subject of the sentence is Bill Gates. The past tense form of the verb is founded, and the object of our sentence is Microsoft. So that's an active voice sentence because Bill Gates is the important part of that sentence, and we know that he founded Microsoft. So what we will do is, can we rewrite active sentences as passive sentences? So here's our active sentence. Bill Gates founded Microsoft. Now let's see if we can put this into the passive voice. So first we'll have a look at our formula again. So the object of the active sentence, which was Microsoft, then the word was, or sometimes the word might be were, then the past participle form of the verb, then the word by, and then the subject. And the subject of our sentence, you'll remember, is Bill Gates. So we'll have a look at how that looks. So there's our object, Microsoft. And that's at the start of the sentence. It's the object of the active sentence, but when we write it in our passive voice, we're going to put it at the beginning of our sentence. Then the word was, just like in our formula there. Then we need the past participle form of the verb. And founded, it's the same sounding verb. Sometimes the past tense and the past participle of the verb are the same. Sometimes they are a little bit different. We will have a look at a different one as well. So we've got Microsoft was founded, and there's founded, the past participle form of the verb. Then we have by, just like in our formula, and then the subject, who is Bill Gates. So if we look at our two sentences, the active voice sentence, Bill Gates founded Microsoft, and then in the passive voice, Microsoft was founded by Bill Gates. And if you look at both the sentences, you can see in the active voice sentence, Bill Gates is the important information, but in the passive voice sentence, Microsoft is the important information. And a lot of the time when we're writing information pieces of writing or information texts, and particularly science texts, we use the passive voice because it's the data and the information that we're wanting to focus on. So passive voice is very important in that style of writing. All right, we're going to have a look at another example now because I think there always needs to be more than one example when we're learning something new. So here is our formula for the active voice in the simple past tense. The subject is first, then the past tense of the verb, and then the object. So our new sentence is Bill Gates wrote the code for MS-DOS. So there we have Bill Gates, he is the subject. So he's the first part of that sentence. And then the past tense form of the verb is wrote. Because he's not writing it right now, he already did that. So he wrote it, so it's in the past tense. And then in this sentence, our object is the code for MS-DOS. So the object doesn't have to be just one word. Sometimes our object can be a noun group. It's the same as you can see our subject, Bill Gates, is 2 words. So noun groups can be the object or the subject as well. So our active voice, simple past tense sentence is Bill Gates wrote the code for MS-DOS. Now we'll see if we can put that sentence into the passive voice. So our passive voice is the object of the active sentence, which was the code for MS-DOS, plus was, plus the past participle form of the verb, plus by, plus the subject. Let's see how we make that work. The code for MS-DOS, that's our object. Then we need was, which is the same as there. And then our past participle form of the verb is written. So we wouldn't write the code for MS-DOS was wrote because it doesn't sound right. We don't say was wrote, we say was written. So written is the past participle form of the verb. And then by, just like in our formula, and then our subject, who of course is still Bill Gates. So he's been our subject in both the sentences that we've done. And have a look at the sentences together. Bill Gates wrote the code for MS-DOS, active voice. And then in our passive voice, the code for MS-DOS was written by Bill Gates. So your job before Thursday is to have a look through your reading, and I'd like you to choose at least 5 sentences from the reading. They can be 5 sentences that you choose, any 5 that you like, but I'd like you to write those sentences or type them out and then look at them and work out whether or not they are using active or passive voice. So have a look at the subject and the object, and have a look back through the slideshow because the link is in the writing underneath the YouTube video. Have a look and see if you can work out which ones of your sentences are using active voice and which ones are using passive voice. And then the ones that are active voice, see if you can use the formula that we just practiced with to turn those sentences into passive voice sentences. So instead of having the subject at the beginning of the sentence, you put the subject at the end of the sentence and use the past participle form of the verb. But have a look back through the slides and see if you can change a couple of the sentences from active to passive. Okay, so that's about the end of our theory for today, but there's plenty of work for you to get done because we still have our 50 minutes for the theory lesson. So just a quick review. You need to read number 6, personal computing, from your textbook. Go back to slide 8 and answer the questions on slide 8 and type your answers up in complete sentences. Then have a look at the synonyms, which is the word or the phrase that have similar meanings, and be ready to share your answers on Thursday because we'll have a look at those together during our practicum on Thursday. And last of all, choose some sentences from the reading. Work out if they're active or passive, and then if they are active sentences, try to write them again, so rewrite them in the passive voice. See how you go using the formula that we were having a look at there. And also don't forget, if there are any words that you're finding tricky, use a highlighter to highlight them on your page, and we'll work together on Thursday at how to pronounce those different words. So here's our reference list. I used a couple of websites to help me with different ideas for this, as well as your textbook, which Mona Lisa has kindly loaned to me. Okay, so thanks so much, everybody. If you've got any questions, I have just put my email there. Please feel free to email me anytime. We are 4 hours different in Australia, but I will be able to answer any questions that you've got, I hope. And if I can't answer the questions for you, I will ask Mona Lisa, and I'm sure she will help me out. So thanks so much for listening to the video, and I'll be looking forward to seeing everybody on Thursday at our practicum. Thank you.